I didn't notice anything was wrong at first. I had just come home from our weekly family dinner, humming softly as I kicked off my shoes and walked into my walk-in closet. It was supposed to be a calm night, the kind where you unwind, change into comfortable clothes, and curl up on the couch with your husband. But the second I stepped inside that closet, something felt off, like the air itself had shifted. The shelves, usually neat and full of color, looked strangely empty. My heart gave a small jolt as my eyes darted around. And then the realization hit me so hard I forgot to breathe. "Have you seen my cream Birkin?" I called out to my husband James, my voice already trembling. I was pulling hangers aside, lifting boxes, checking corners, like maybe, just maybe, I had misplaced the most valuable bag I owned. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. That bag was my treasure, stored with the kind of care someone gives to a priceless piece of art. But it wasn't just the Birkin. Something was very wrong. As I scanned the shelves again, I felt my stomach drop. My Chanel flap gone, my Lady Dior gone. The vintage pieces I saved up for years to buy gone. Every designer bag I collected over a decade of hard-earned success had vanished from my closet as if they'd grown legs and walked out. "My name is Sophie Bennett," I remember thinking, almost to steady myself. "I'm 34, an art curator who has spent my adult life building something I could be proud of. I didn't inherit wealth. I didn't marry into riches. I worked for everything: late nights, early mornings, endless projects. And part of that journey was collecting bags that marked each milestone. My first gallery opening, my first major auction, my promotion. Every bag meant something personal, something earned, which is why the empty shelves felt like a punch to the chest." James stepped into the doorway. "Maybe you moved them," he suggested, but even he didn't sound convinced.
He knew me. He knew how carefully I organized everything, how each bag had its own dust cover, its own place.
Its own little moment of pride on those shelves. Nothing was ever out of place. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed, a new Instagram notification. I didn't think much of it until I saw the name Olivia. My sister and law. My finger froze over the screen. Then I opened her story and my world stopped. There was Olivia, smiling at a luxury restaurant, hair perfectly curled, eyes bright with obvious excitement. But I didn't care about the restaurant. I didn't care about her smile. I cared about the cream Birkin hanging off her shoulder like it belonged there. The caption nearly made me drop my phone. "Living my best life with my new collection." "James," I whispered, "you need to see this." He came over, leaned in, and the instant he saw the picture, his expression hardened, his jaw twitched, his eyes narrowed. "She wouldn't," he started, but we both knew she absolutely would. Olivia had always been jealous of my success. She never said it outright, but the little comments, the fake compliments, the sideways glances, they were all there. She'd been living under the shadow of her older brother for years. While James built his career piece by piece, she drifted from job to job, always relying on their parents to rescue her. When he married me, someone who had already built her own life, her own career, her own independence, well, she didn't handle that very gracefully. I opened Olivia's profile. More photos, more of my bags. My Lady Dior at a rooftop bar. The soft leather glowing under the lights. My vintage Chanel, my treasured, hard-to-find piece, sitting on a lounge chair at a beach club. She had taken every single one, and she was showing them off to the world. James reached for his phone. "I'm calling her," but I grabbed his hand. "No, not yet." My mind was racing like wildfire. Let's see how far she goes. The next day, Olivia's feed exploded with new pictures. She hopped from restaurant to club to party, each time flaunting a different one of my bags. Her friends commented nonstop, calling her classy, elegant, stylish. They were eating it up, and she was loving every second. It was like watching someone step into a fantasy they had always dreamed of. Except it was at my expense and with my property. Then came the post that made my blood freeze. A pool party. Girls. Splashing water, drinks everywhere, music loud enough to feel through the screen. And there, sitting inches, literal inches from the pool's edge, was my cream Birkin, A bag worth more than most people's yearly salary, a bag that symbolized. The moment I knew my career had truly taken off. A bag she didn't even own. Right then, something inside me clicked, not anger, not fear. Just clarity. This wouldn't end with her returning the bags quietly. This wouldn't end with a simple apology. She had taken them, paraded them, lied about them. And she wasn't stopping. So I decided to outplay her. At the next family dinner. I acted completely normal. I smiled. I chatted. I didn't mention the bags at all. When Olivia strutted in wearing my Chanel, I complimented her. When she switched into the Birkin for dessert, I admired it like I'd never seen it before. She glowed under the attention. She launched into ridiculous stories about how she bought each bag, how her dealer in Paris practically begged her to take them, how rare they were, how exclusive her connections had become. My mother-in-law looked at her like she was royalty. She always favored Olivia, brushing off her behavior as youthful energy. Now she looked proud enough to burst. I took a sip of wine. The Birkin is special, I said lightly. Very rare. And mine, well, the original has some unique markings. Makes it very easy to recognize. The room shifted for a second. Olivia's smile wavered. Only for a heartbeat, but I saw it. And then she forced it back, laughing too quickly, too loudly. Well, that's why I had to have it, she said. I know quality when I see it. But her eyes betrayed her. That night, the desperation began. Her posts became more frequent, more frantic. She needed to keep the illusion alive. She needed people to believe the bags were hers, and then it happened. Ping. New post. My heart thumped. There, it was, my cream Birkin now, stained with a huge splash of red wine across the front. A stain big enough to ruin the bag forever. The caption was dramatic and messy, filled with crying emojis and a long story about an accident at a charity event. I stared at the screen. That wasn't an accident. That was fear. She was trying to ruin the one bag that was undeniably mine. The one bag I'd told her had unique identifiers. The one bag that would get her caught. It's time, I told James, showing him the photo. He nodded. He knew what this meant. I had every piece of proof I needed. Her posts, her stories, her trail of bragging, her lies, the damage. But this had stopped being about handbags a long time ago. This was about years of her tearing me down in whispers, making me feel like my success was something to be ashamed of. Years of disrespect, jealousy, and quiet attacks. I picked up my phone. One call to my insurance company. One call to my lawyer. Olivia had no idea. The storm she'd walked into, sometimes. The best revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's slow, steady, and impossible to escape. Watching someone realize they destroyed themselves is more powerful than shouting ever could be. The next morning, as my lawyer gathered every screenshot, every receipt, every authentication certificate, my phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. The Birkin had an accident, but I can fix it. Do you know any cleaners? I didn't answer. I focused on the email from my insurance company confirming my coverage. Filing a claim meant filing a police report. Perfect. You don't have to do this, James said gently, watching me get ready. We could handle it. Quietly. I shook my head. No, James, handling things quietly is what made her this bold. She thinks there are no consequences. At the police station, I laid out everything, every picture, every message, every lie. The officer raised his eyebrows when I explained the value of the Birkin alone. And you can prove these belong to you? He asked. I pulled out a folder, photos, receipts, certificates, insurance records. I had always documented my pieces carefully. Right after I finished giving the full report, my phone went wild with notifications. Olivia posted a tearful video about accidents and true friends. Her followers flooded her comments with support, completely unaware they were watching evidence. Then the family joined in. My mother-in-law. Sophie, dear, Olivia feels awful. Maybe talk over tea? My father-in-law, let's not make this bigger then. It is. Family stays together. I forwarded both messages to my lawyer. That afternoon, Olivia appeared at my door, eyes red maybe from crying. Maybe from makeup meant to look like crying. I was going to return them, she said quickly. It was just fun. People loved them. They thought they were mine. It felt good. Where are they? I asked, my voice calm. In my apartment, she said. Well, most of them. The Birkin. When you mentioned it being identifiable, I got scared. I thought if it was damaged, you wouldn't want it back. So, I said quietly, you destroyed a $100,000 bag because you panicked. Her face went pale. 100,000. The limited edition cream Birkin you spilled wine on. Yes, that is current market value, not to mention the other pieces you borrowed. She started crying in earnest now. I'll pay you back. Please, Sophie, don't do this. Mom. And Dad can help. I watched her flinch with each example. No, Olivia, this time. You're facing the consequences of your actions. You'll destroy this family, she shouted, switching from tears to anger in an instant. You did that when you decided to steal from me, I replied, closing the door on her protest. Inside. James was waiting, having heard everything. She's right about one thing, he said quietly. This will change everything. Everything already changed when she took my things, I responded. She just didn't expect me to stand up for myself. That evening, we received an invitation to an emergency family dinner at his parents' house. Martha's message was clear. This needed to be handled privately, quietly, in a way that wouldn't tarnish the family name. Westhold go, James said. At least hearth them out. I agreed, but not before making one final call to my lawyer. Everything was in motion now, and no amount of family pressure would stop it. Walking into Martha and George's immaculate dining room, I could feel the tension. Olivia sat at the table, eyes downcast, while Martha fluttered around, placing plates with trembling hands. Sophie, dear, Martha began as soon as Sway sat down. We understand you're upset, but surely we can find a solution that keeps this incident within the family. He pulled out my phone and placed it on Theatable. You mean like these incidents? I started playing a slideshow of Olivia's social media posts, each one showing her with my stolen bags. Or this one. The final image showed the ruined Birkin. We'll replace everything, George offered quickly, whatever it costs. The police report has already been filed, I said calmly. The insurance claim is in process. This isn't about money anymore. Olivia's head snapped up. Police report. You actually went to the police. What did you expect? I asked, meeting her gaze steadily. That I just write off thousands of dollars in stolen and damaged property because we're family. But I was going to return them. She protested. After you ruined them? After you paraded them around pretending they were yours? After you deliberately teledaged an irreplaceable piece when you'll get scared of being caught. The room fell silent. Martha had stopped her nervous movements. George was staring at his plate. And Olivia finally looked afraid. What happens now? James asked, breaking the tension. I stood up, gathering my things. Now well let the legal system handle this. And maybe, just maybe, Olivia will finally learn that actions have consequences. As we left, I heard Martha burst into tears and Olivia start shouting about betrayal. But for the first time since this whole ordeal began, I felt at peace. Sometimes protecting yourself means being willing to weather the storm of family disapproval. The real question was, what would happen when the police arrived at Olivia's door tomorrow morning? The police arrived at Olivia's apartment early the next morning. I didn't need to be there. The evidence spoke for itself. By afternoon, all Meyer Main bags had been recovered, and Olivia was facing charges of grand theft and property damage. What happened next surprised everyone, especially Martha and George. Instead of bailing their daughter out immediately, they took a step back. Perhaps they finally realized that constantly shielding Olivia from consequences had led to this moment. We failed her, George admitted during a private conversation with James. We should have stopped this behavior years ago. The family dynamic shifted dramatically. Martha, who had always rushed to defend Olivia, now sat in silence during family gatherings. The reality of her daughter's actions, not just the theft, but the calculated deception that followed, had shaken her perfect family image. Olivia, facing actual consequences for perhaps the first time in her life, changed too. The initial anger and blame shifting gave way to something else. Shame. Real, genuine shame. 3 months after the incident, I received an unexpected letter. It was handwritten, tears stained in places. Sophie, I've spent weeks trying to write this. Nothing sounds right. How do you apologize for not just stealing from someone, but trying to become them? Because that's what I was doing. Every time I carried one of your bags, posted a photo, told a lie about where I got 'em, I was trying to be you. I've started therapy. Turns out I have a lot of work through. My therapist says I've been competing with an impossible standard, not just you, but this perfect image I created in my head. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. I know you may never forgive me. But I need you to know that facing consequences for my actions was the wake-up call I needed. Olivia showed the letter to James. He read it silently, then looked at me with questioning eyes. What are you thinking? I'm thinking, I said slowly, that real change deserves a chance. The charges weren't dropped. That wasn't my call to make, but I did write a letter to the court about Olivia's efforts to make amends. She ended up with probation and mandatory counseling, plus a repayment plan for the damaged Birkin. 6 months later, Olivia invited me for coffee. She looked different, more grounded somehow. She had a job now, a real one, working at a local art gallery. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I start at Thebatom, she explained, stirring her coffee, filing, answering phones. But I love it. For the first time, I'm building something that's actually mine. I nodded, remembering my own early days in the art world. That's how it starts. I used to be so jealous, she admitted. You made everything look so easy. I never saw the work, the years of effort. I just wanted the end result. Nothing worth having comes easy, I replied, thinking of my own journey. Our relationship would never be the same as before. Too much had happened. But something new was growing in its place, something built on honesty and respect rather than competition and resentment. Martha and George changed too. They stopped enabling Olivia's behavior and started supporting her growth instead. Family dinners became less about maintaining appearances and more about genuine connection. As for my designer collection, I still have it, though the cream Birkin was irreplaceable. But now a piece tells a different story. Not just of professional milestones, but of standing up for myself, of refusing to let family ties become chains that bind into toxic behavior. Last week, Olivia handed me her first paycheck from the gallery. For the repayment plan, she said, I know it's just a fraction of what I owe, but it's a start. I finished for her. Sometimes the happy endings aren't about everything returning to normal. They're about building something better from the ruins of what was broken. Olivia's actions had shattered our family's facade, but in doing so, she created space for something more authentic to grow. Looking back, I realized that the real value of my designer collection wasn't in the bags themselves, but in what they taught Yusul about worth, respect, and the true meaning of family. Some lessons come with heavy price tags, but their worth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in growth, understanding, and the courage to change. The cream Birkin might be gone, but what replaced it, genuine respect, honest relationships, and real personal growth, is worth far more than any designer bag could ever be.